Welcome to the Wednesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Wednesday morning. I do realize that yesterday I had the stream title wrong. Looks like we skipped a day. Not a problem. Happy Wednesday. How's it going? Alright, folks, let me make sure we got ourselves situated. How's it going, Astro? Maybe make sure we got this refreshed. Alright, folks, so we still have to finish the IPCC conference, and I believe, if I'm correct, there was the State of the Union last night, so we gotta play that, and I think a couple of articles, and we should be good. I fell asleep during the State of the Union. I watched up until some booze when he misspoke. Really? Oof. How's it going, Tendera? No doubt there are reasons to boo. Just, out of all of them, seems like the least.
We have never...
Jesus. You guys should be backing your president 100%. Not always, my friend. Not always. There's no good point into blindly supporting just because they are president at this time. Quick updates. Navalny, opposition leader, has called for protests worldwide against Putin's war. Another convoy has been seen. Several missile strikes. "2,000 Ukrainian citizens so far have been killed. That's what they say. That's about as much as we've gotten so far. Wait, he's keeping Americans safe from what? This whole building got leveled. The Moscow Stock Exchange has remained closed for the third day. Was Kiev attacked by that convoy? I don't think that convoy has moved much. They're having some supply issues, some fuel issues. Kiev has been attacked, but not from that convoy hasn't gotten very far. As far as we can tell, they're having a lot of logistical issues, especially when it comes to fuel and supplies. So it seems like that's basically what's holding them back. But I suspect that once they, if and when they are able to reach the destination, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. So that's where we're at.
Thank you so much. Madam Speaker, Madam Vice President, our First Lady and Second Gentleman, members of Congress and the Cabinet, Justice of the Supreme Court, my fellow Americans. Last year, COVID-19 kept us apart. This year, we're finally together again. Tonight, we meet as Democrats, Republicans, and Independents, but most importantly, as Americans, with a duty to one another, to America, to the American people, to the Constitution, and an unwavering resolve
that's right. The international crisis is over there, which is my point.
Freedom will always triumph over tyranny.
Howdy, howdy, Inchoma.
Thank you. Six days ago, Russia's Vladimir Putin sought to shake the very foundations of the free world, thinking he could make it bend to his menacing ways. But he badly miscalculated. He thought he could roll into Ukraine and the world would roll over. Instead, he met with a wall of strength he never anticipated or imagined. He met the Ukrainian people. But President Zelensky, to every Ukrainian, their fearlessness, their courage, their determination literally inspires the world. Groups of citizens blocking tanks with their bodies. Everyone from students to retirees to teachers turned soldiers defending their homeland. And in this struggle, President Zelensky said in his speech to the European Parliament, light will win over darkness. The Ukrainian ambassador to the United States is here tonight, sitting with the First Lady. Let each of us, if you're able to stand and send an unmistakable signal to the world of Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. She's bright, she's strong, she's resolved. Yes, we, the United States of America, stand with the Ukrainian people. Throughout our history, we've learned this lesson. When dictators do not pay a price for their aggression, they cause more chaos. They keep moving, and the cost, the threats to America and America to the world keeps rising. That's why the NATO alliance was created, to secure peace and stability in Europe after World War II. The United States is a member, along with 29 other nations. It matters. American diplomacy matters. American resolve matters. Putin's latest attack on Ukraine was premeditated and totally unprovoked. He rejected repeated efforts at diplomacy. He thought the West and NATO wouldn't respond. He thought he could divide us at home, in this chamber, in this nation. He thought he could divide us in Europe as well. But Putin was wrong. We are ready. We are united, and that's what we did. We stayed united. We prepared extensively and carefully. We spent months building coalitions of other freedom-loving nations in Europe and from America to the Asian and African continents to confront Putin. Like many of you, I spent countless hours unifying our European allies. We shared with the world in advance what we knew Putin was planning and precisely how we would try to falsify and justify his aggression. We countered Russia's lies with the truth. And now that he's acted, the free world is holding him accountable, along with 27 members of the European Union, including France, Germany, Italy, as well as countries like the United Kingdom, Canada, Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, and many others, even Switzerland, are inflicting pain on Russia and supporting the people of Ukraine. Putin is now isolated from the world more than he has ever been. Together,
Sorry, I'm muted. Is the Trump speech that 6-minute speech? Can somebody link me that speech? See if we have time for that.
Together, along with our allies, we are right now enforcing powerful economic sanctions. We're cutting off Russia's largest bank from the international financial system, preventing Russia's central bank from defending the Russian ruble, making Putin...
We're making Russia as desperate as possible. Okay.
$630 billion war fund worthless. We're choking Russia's access. We're choking Russia's access to technology that will sap its economic strength and weaken its military for years to come. Tonight, I say to the Russian oligarchs and the corrupt leaders who built billions of dollars off this violent regime, no more. The United States, I mean it.
Pretty sure Trump's speech was longer, but maybe it just felt longer. Maybe. I mean, if you can find it for me,
Department of Justice is
send it
assembling
to
a
me
dedicated
via
task force
whispers.
to go after the crimes of the Russian oligarchs. We're joining with European allies to find and seize their yachts, their luxury apartments, their private jets. We're coming for you, ill-begotten gains. And tonight, I'm announcing that we will join our allies in closing off American airspace to all Russian flights, further isolating Russia and adding
Whoa.
additional squeeze on their economy. He has no idea what's coming. The ruble has already lost 30% of its value. The Russian stock market has lost 40% of its value, and trading remains suspended. The Russian economy is reeling, and Putin alone is the one to blame. Together with our allies, we're providing support to the Ukrainians in their fight for freedom. Military assistance, economic assistance, humanitarian assistance. We're giving more than $1 billion of direct assistance to Ukraine, and will continue to aid the Ukrainian people as they defend their country and help ease their suffering. But let me be clear. Our forces are not engaged and will not engage in the conflict with Russian forces in Ukraine.
Good.
Our forces are not going to Europe to fight Ukraine, but
Good.
to defend our NATO allies in the event that Putin decides to keep moving west. For that purpose, we have mobilized American ground forces, air squadrons, ship deployments to protect NATO countries, including Poland, Romania, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. And as I've made crystal clear, the United States and our allies will defend every inch of territory that is NATO territory with the full force of our collective power. Every single inch. And we're clear-eyed. The Ukrainians are fighting back with pure courage. But the next few days, weeks, and months will be hard on them. Putin has unleashed violence and chaos. But while he may make gains on the battlefield, he'll pay a continuing high price over the long run. And a pound of Ukrainian people, proud, proud people, pound for pound, ready to fight with every inch of energy they have. They've known 30 years of independence, have repeatedly shown that they will not tolerate anyone who tries to take their country backwards. To all Americans, I'll be honest with you, as I always promised I would be. A Russian dictator invading a foreign country has cost around the world. And I'm taking robust action to make sure the pain of our sanctions is targeted at the Russian economy and that we use every tool.
Once he starts talking about the infrastructure bill and it all starts sounding like all talk, oof.
At our disposal to protect American businesses and consumers. Tonight, I can announce the United States has worked with 30 other countries to release 60 million barrels of oil from reserves around the world. America will lead that effort, releasing 30 million barrels of our own strategic petroleum reserve. And we stand ready to do more if necessary, united with our allies. These steps will help blunt gas prices here at home, but I know news about what's happening can seem alarming to all Americans. But I want you to know, we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. When the history of this era is written, Putin's war in Ukraine will have left Russia weaker and the rest of the world stronger. While it shouldn't have taken something so terrible for people around the world to see what's at stake, now everyone sees it clearly. We see the unity among leaders of nations, a more unified Europe, a more unified West. We see unity among the people who are gathering in cities in large crowds around the world, even in Russia, to demonstrate their support for the people of Ukraine. In the battle between democracy and autocracies, democracies are rising to the moment, and the world is clearly choosing the side of peace and security. This is the real test, and it's going to take time. So let us continue to draw inspiration from the iron will of the Ukrainian people. To our fellow Ukrainian Americans who forged the deep bond that connects our two nations, we stand with you. We stand with you. Putin may circle Kyiv with tanks, but he'll never gain the hearts and souls of the Iranian people. He'll never extinguish their love of freedom, and he will never weaken the resolve of the free world. We meet tonight in an America that has lived through two of the hardest years this nation has ever faced. The pandemic has been punishing, and so many families are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to keep up with the rising cost of food, gas, housing, and so much more. I understand, like many of you did. My dad had to leave his home in Scranton, Pennsylvania to find work. So like many of you, I grew up in a family when the price of food went up, it was felt throughout the family. It had an impact. That's one of the first things I did as president, was fight to pass the American Rescue Plan. Because people were hurting. We needed to act, and we did.
All right, malarkey incoming.
Few pieces of legislation have done more at a critical moment in our history to lift us out of a crisis. It fueled our efforts to vaccinate the nation and combat COVID-19. It delivered immediate economic relief to tens of millions of Americans. It helped put food on the table. Remember those long lines of cars waiting for hours just to get a box of food put in their trunk? It cut the cost of health care insurance. And as my dad used to say, it gave the people just a little bit of breathing room. Unlike the $2 trillion tax cut passed in the previous administration that benefited the top 1% of Americans, the American Rescue Plan helped working people and left no one behind.
Really?
Folks, and it worked. It worked.
Order.
It worked. We created jobs, lots of jobs. In fact, our economy created over 6.5 million new jobs just last year. More jobs in 1 year than ever before in the history of the United States of America. The economy grew at a rate of 5.7 last year, the strongest growth rate in 40 years. And the first step in bringing fundamental change to our economy that hasn't worked for working people in this nation for too long. For the past 40 years, we were told the tax break for those at the top and benefits would trickle down and everyone would benefit. But that trickle-down theory led to a weaker economic growth.
They booed the they booed the shot at they booed the shot at Trump administration. Jam up, Blaze Twitch. Thank you for the follow. Listen, the American Rescue Plan had some good elements of it, but save the couple of good things. we have largely seen a whole lot of, well, nothing besides that.
Lower wages, bigger deficits, and a widening gap between the top and everyone else in nearly a century. Look, Vice President Harris and I ran for office, and I realized we had fundamental disagreements on this, but ran for office with a new economic vision for America. Invest in America, educate Americans, grow the workforce, build the economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not from the top down, because we know, because we know when the middle class grows, the poor have a way up and the wealthy do very well. America used to have the best roads, bridges, and airports on earth, and now our infrastructure is ranked 13th in the world. We won't be able to compete for the jobs of the 21st century if we don't fix it. That's why it was so important to pass the bipartisan infrastructure law. And I thank my Republican friends who joined to invest and rebuild
It's a full
America.
90 minutes. If you find it, send it to me.
Biggest investment in history.
I think
It was a bipartisan effort, and I want to thank the members of both parties who worked to make it happen.
I think that you can send links now because I VIP'd.
We're done talking about infrastructure weeks. We're now talking about an infrastructure decade. And look, it's going to transform America, to put us on a path to win the economic competition of the 21st century that we face with the rest of the world, particularly China. I told Xi Jinping, it's never been a good bet to bet against the American people. We'll create good jobs for millions of Americans, modernizing roads, airports, ports, waterways, all across
Jesus
America.
in there.
And we'll do it to withstand the devastating effects of climate change and promote environmental justice.
Okay,
We'll build a national
malarkey.
network of-
Hold on. That's a whole lot of malarkey, Jack. That's a whole lot of malarkey. And you know it. That is a whole lot of malarkey, and you know it.
$500,000 electric vehicle charging stations. Began to replace the poisonous lead pipes so every child, every American has clean water to drink at home and at school. We're going to provide affordable, high-speed internet for every American, rural, suburban, urban, and tribal communities. 4,000 projects have already been announced. Many of you have announced them in your districts. And tonight, I'm announcing that this year, we will start fixing over 65,000 miles of highway and 1,500 bridges in disrepair. Folks, when we
America doesn't have clean water for everyone.
to rebuild America.
No.
We're going to do it by buying America.
Whoa.
Check out this.
Buy American products. Support American jobs. The federal government spends about $600 billion a year to keep this country safe and secure. There's been a law on the books for almost a century to make sure taxpayers' dollars support American jobs and businesses. Every administration, Democrat and Republican, says they'll do it, but we're actually doing it. We'll buy America to make sure everything from the deck of an aircraft carrier to the steel on highway guardrails is made in America from beginning to end. All of it. All of it.
How about instead of aircraft carriers, we get some investments, some legitimate investments into renewables? How about that?
To compete for the jobs of the future, we also need a level playing field with China and other competitors. That's why it's so important to pass the Bipartisan Innovation Act sitting in Congress that will make record investments in emerging technologies and American manufacturing. We used to invest almost 2% of our GDP in research and development. We don't now. China is. Let me give you one example why it's so important to pass. If you travel 20 miles east of Columbus, Ohio, you'll find 1,000 empty acres of land. It won't look like much, but if you stop and look closely, you'll see a field of dreams. The ground in which America's future will be built. That's where Intel, the American company that helped build Silicon Valley, is going to build a $20 billion semiconductor megasite. Up to 8 state-of-the-art factories in one place. 10,000 new jobs. And in those factories, the average job about $135,000 a year. Some of the most sophisticated manufacturing in the world to make computer chips the size of a fingertip that power the world in evereveryday lives. From smartphones, technology, the internet,
And
technology
Troma,
is yet to be invented.
subscribing with a tier
That's just
1
the beginning.
Poggers.
Intel CEO Pat Gelsinger, who's here tonight. I don't know where Pat is. Pat, there you go, Pat. Stand up. Pat came to see me, and he told me they're ready to increase their investment from $20 billion to $100 billion. That would be the biggest investment in manufacturing in American history. And all they're waiting for is for you to pass this bill. So let's not wait any longer. Send it to my desk, I'll sign it, and we'll really take off in a big way. And folks, Intel is not alone. There's something happening in America. Just look around and you'll see an amazing story. The rebirth of pride that comes from stamping products made in America. The revitalization of American manufacturing. Companies are choosing to build new factories here, when just a few years ago they would have gone overseas. That's what's happening. Ford is investing $11 billion in electric vehicles, creating 11,000 jobs across the country. GM is making the largest investment in its history, $7 billion to build electric vehicles, creating 4,000 jobs in Michigan. All told, 369,000 new manufacturing jobs were created in America last year alone. Folks, powered by people I've met like JoJo Burgess from generations of union steelworkers in Pittsburgh, who's here tonight. Where are you, JoJo? There you go. Thanks, buddy. As Ohio Senator Sherrod Brown says, it's time to bury the label Rust Belt. It's time to see what used to be called the Rust Belt become the home of a significant resurgence of manufacturing. And with all the bright spots in our economy, record job growth, higher wages, too many families are struggling to keep up with their bills. Inflation is robbing them of gains they thought otherwise they would be able to feel. I get it. That's why my top priority is getting prices under control. Look, our economy roared back faster than almost anyone predicted. But the pandemic meant that businesses had a hard time hiring enough people because of the pandemic to keep up production in their factories. So you didn't have people making those beams that went into buildings because they were out. The factory was closed. The panic also disrupted the global supply chain. Factories close. When that happens, it takes longer to make goods and get them to the warehouses, to the stores, and prices go up. Look at cars last year. 1/3 of all the inflation was because of automobile sales. There weren't enough semiconductors to make all the cars that people wanted to buy. And guess what? Prices of automobiles went way up.
Wait a minute. Hold on. That sounds like malarkey.
Especially used vehicles as well. And so we have a choice. One way to fight inflation is to drop.
What? Why would... If the problem was the supply of semiconductors to make new cars, why would the price of used cars be more increase? Why would the price of increase of used cars go up? Sorry. It's so much easier to pay attention to him at this speed. Yeah, it's also because we're on a time, time limit.
Wages to make Americans poor. I think I have a better idea to fight inflation. Lower your costs, not your wages. Folks.
The problem isn't continuous lower. The fact that there is inflation is a the fact that there is inflation is wage cuts. Those are wage cuts because there's a shortage of new cars. Okay, that might make sense, but then the next question would be, is there so much demand for new cars that we can't keep up? That sounds weird. Everyone's out there trying to buy a new car. That's kind of weird. But maybe that's true. On paper it makes sense. On paper it makes sense though.
That means make more cars and semiconductors in America. More infrastructure and innovation in America. More goods moving faster and cheaper in America. More jobs where you can earn a good living in America. Instead of relying on foreign supply chains, let's make it in America. Look, economists.
Jesus Christ.
Do you think any of us will look back in our lives and regret the things we didn't?
Call this increasing the productive capacity of our economy.
Weird champ.
I call it building a better America. My plan to fight inflation will lower your costs and lower the deficit. 17 Nobel laureates in economics said my plan will ease long-term inflationary pressures. Top business leaders, and I believe most Americans support the plan. And here's the plan. First, cut the cost of prescription drugs.
Okay.
We pay more
How?
for the same drug produced by the same company in America than any other country in the world.
Yes.
Just look at insulin. 1 in 10 Americans has diabetes. In Virginia, I met a 13-year-old boy, the handsome young man standing up there, Joshua Davis. He and his dad both have type 1 diabetes, which means they need insulin every single day. Insulin costs about $10 a vial to make. That's what it costs the pharmaceutical company. But drug companies charge families like Joshua and his dad up to 30 times that amount.
And why is
I spoke
that?
with Joshua's mom. Imagine what it's like to look at your child.
All right, malarkey incoming. Has anyone, like, did this guy just not have the intuition to ask himself why? Gee, I wonder what could be the difference between having a universal healthcare system and a for-profit system. So that little Josh over here is being forced to pay 30 times more for medication that he needs to, live. Gee, I wonder what the drastic difference is here, that we just happen to have this very unique problem. Damn. This pisses me off because he has a child with diabetes as a prop because because none of this will happen even though insulin in Canada costs 1/10 of it does here. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, gee, no intuition whatsoever. I mean, maybe he does know. I have no idea. But it's the point was made. The point was made. The reality is the best course of action would be to move towards a universal healthcare system. That's why drug companies are allowed to do this. Yeah, just decommodify it. Take the profit out of this. Take the profit out of this so that little Josh over here doesn't have to pay 30 times the amount for no other reason. Literally, there's absolutely no other reason other than greed. That's it. That's it right there. There's no other reason that insulin should cost 30 times more, because it doesn't, other than greed.
Who needs insulin to stay healthy and have no idea how in God's name you're going to be able to pay for it. What it does to your family, but what it does to your dignity, your ability to look your child in the eye, to be the parent you expect yourself to be. I really mean to think about that.
I wonder what he could do about drug prices without Congress. I don't know. I think he does have options. I just don't know how far he can go. A political speech is not facts. True. This is the same as all disaster poverty porn where people should have never been in those situations in the first place. Yeah, and like the solutions are basically non-existent. Like, realistically speaking, like the actual correct plan would be to call on Congress right now. This is the State of the Union. Call on Congress to move into some type of universal healthcare system and continue to hammer that point down. There should be no reason why we can't. Katrina Kaiju has a gone. Strategic resources should never be put in private hands. In my opinion, medicine is a strategic resource. True. One way of looking at it.
That's what I think about. You know, yesterday, Joshua's here tonight, but yesterday was his birthday. Happy birthday, buddy, by the way. For Joshua and 200,000 other young people with type 1 diabetes, let's cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month. So everyone can afford it. And drug companies will do very, very well. Their profit margin.
Nobody cares.
While we're at it, I know.
Oi, the first priority is to be getting the insulin to these 200,000 kids. That should be the priority. Holy shit.
We have great disagreements on this floor with this. Let's let Medicare negotiate the price of prescription drugs.
What?
They already Set the price for VA drugs. Look, the American Rescue Plan is helping millions of families with Affordable Care Act plans to save them $2,400 a year on their health premiums. Let's close the coverage gap and make these savings permanent. And second, let's cut energy costs for families, an average of $500 a year by combating climate change. Let's provide an investment tax credits to weatherize your home and your business, to be energy efficient and get a tax credit for it. Double America's clean energy production in solar, wind, and so much more. Lower the price of electric vehicles, saving another $80 a month that you're not going to have to pay at the pump. Folks.
Yeah, something, I mean, the speech, the statement is fine, but you gotta do something, Jack. These kids can die early, and he's patting himself on the back. Yeah, this is unbelievable to me that you use a kid, first of all, as a prop to attempt to sell the idea to the public that prescription needs to be cut, and tell the public, like, yeah, we pay 30 times more, but you know. Hey, Heat, how's it going? I saw his part and cringed out.
The third thing
yeah, I
we can
haven't
do
seen
to change
this.
the standard of living for hardworking folks is cut the cost of childcare. Cut the cost of childcare.
Oh, cut the cost of childcare. Didn't they fail to continue the child tax credits? They failed on that one too. Folks.
If you live in a major city in America, you pay up to $14,000 a year for childcare per child. I was a single dad for 5 years, raising 2 kids. I had a lot of help, though. I had a mom, a dad, a brother, and a sister that really helped. But middle class and working folks shouldn't have to pay more than 7% of their income to care for the young children. My plan would cut the cost of child care in half for most families.
How?
And help parents, including millions of women who left the workforce during the pandemic because they couldn't afford child care, to be able to get back to work, generating economic growth. But my plan doesn't stop there. It also includes home and long-term care, more affordable housing, pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds. All these will lower costs.
Oh, wait. He's just describing the BBB. Wait, he's just describing the BBB that never happened. And that he previously admitted isn't going to happen.
Nobody, let me say this again, nobody earning less than $400,000 a year will pay an additional penny in new taxes. Not a single penny.
Floridians pay too much for electricity.
I may be wrong, but my guess is if we took a secret ballot in this floor, that we'd all agree that the present tax system ain't fair. We have to fix it. I'm not looking to punish anybody. But let's make corporations and wealthy Americans start paying their fair share. Look, last year.
So do it. So do it.
And like Chris Coons and Tom Carper and my distinguished Congresswoman, we come from the land of corporate America. There are more corporations incorporated in America than every other state in America combined.
Oh, we know.
And I still won 36 years in a row. The point is, even they understand they should pay just a fair share. Last year, 55 of the Fortune 500 companies earned $40 billion in profit and paid 0 in federal taxes. Now look, it's not fair. That's why I proposed a 15% minimum tax rate for corporations. And that's why in the G7 and other meetings overseas I was able to be somewhat helpful, 130 countries agree on a global minimum tax rate. So companies can't get out of paying their taxes at home by shipping jobs and factories overseas. It'll raise billions of dollars. That's why I propose closing loopholes for the very wealthy who pay a lower tax rate than a teacher and a firefighter. So that's my plan.
I propose, but what legislation has come to fruition that it gets even remotely close to what you're saying? That's the problem. Like, oh, okay, so from what I understand, and I could be wrong, if anyone in chat can correct me, what he's describing is the already defunct BBB. That's what it sounds like to me. AOC looks like looked very half-hearted. I think we all, like, deep down are. Months of debating, Republicans ripping it apart, and Manchin and Simino won't vote until everything is good, it's stripped out of it. Yeah, I mean, that's literally what happened to the BBB. Which, to my understanding, is what he's describing. But what's the point of describing the Build Back Better plan that never happened? What's the point? What is the point of trying to bring all that back up when it's not? First of all, he already admitted that it's not happening. Second of all, any remotely close to being good has been thoroughly stripped out of it. And now we're being told that this Build Back Better plan is going to happen in pieces. That's not going to happen. That's a load of malarkey.
But we have to go more detail later. We will grow the economy, lower the cost of families. So what are we waiting for? Let's get this done. We all know we've got to make changes.
Yeah, we all know what the problems are, dude. Holy shit.
Folks, and while you're at it, confirm my nominees for the Federal Reserve, which plays a critical role in fighting inflation. My plan will not only lower costs and give families a fair shot, it will lower the deficit. The previous administration not only ballooned the deficit with those tax cuts for the very wealthy corporations, it undermined the watchdogs, the job of those who keep pandemic relief funds being wasted. Remember we had those debates about whether or not those watchdogs should be able to see every day how much money was being spent, where was it going to the right place? In my administration, the watchdogs are back. And we're going to go after the criminals who stole billions of relief money meant for small business and millions of Americans. Tonight I'm announcing that the Justice Department will soon name a chief prosecutor for pandemic fraud.
Yay, but what about all the other corporate fraud that's going around?
Look, I think we all agree, thank you. By the end of this year, the deficit will be down to less than half of what it was before I took office. The only president ever to cut the deficit by more than $1 trillion in a single year. Lowering your cost also meant demanding more competition. I'm a capitalist, but capitalism without competition is not capitalism. Capitalism without competition is exploitation.
Oh, buddy. Ugh. And how do you think we got to this point? Capitalism, by definition, involves exploitation. What you're witnessing is the end game of capitalism. Capitalism does not actually like competition. That's not the whole point. The whole point is to win the whole monopoly board. That's the whole point.
Drives up profits. And corporations have to compete. Their profits go up and your prices go up, and they don't have to.
No, they don't. They don't care. They actually don't want competition. Emotion game for them. They don't actually want to pass the stuff, and they know it won't pass. Yeah, it's already dead. There's no point in talking about any of this BBB plan because it's all garbage. It's all garbage. It's not happening. Hey, Spread It Forward. How's it going? Yeah, capitalism by nature is or requires inherently exploitation. It's at the very, very core.
Compete. Small businesses and family farmers.
Like, the whole point is to not have competition. Because remember, at the end of the day, profit is what motivates capitalism, right? That's the whole point of capitalism. And you can't have competition. The less competition, the better. That's how you raise profits. That's how you can get to do whatever you want. It's monopolistic by nature.
And ranchers, I need not tell some of my Republican friends from those states. Guess what? You got 4 basic meatpacking facilities. That's it. You play with them, you don't get to play at all. And you pay a hell of a lot more. A hell of a lot more because there's only 4. See what's happening with ocean carriers and moving goods in and out of America. During the pandemic, about half a dozen or less foreign-owned companies raised prices by as much as 1,000% and made record profits. Tonight, I'm announcing a crackdown on those companies overcharging American businesses and consumers. Folks, and as Wall Street firms take over more nursing homes, quality in those homes has gone down and costs have gone up. That ends on my watch. Medicare is going to set higher standards for nursing homes and make sure your loved ones get the care they deserve and that they inspect and they will look at closely.
Damn. You mean a governmental healthcare program has the ability to make sure that there's quality healthcare? Damn, maybe. Maybe. And hear me out. That can be spread across the country and create a accessible, affordable healthcare system that applies for everybody. Damn. Doc Binwin with a party of rating with a party of 30. Welcome everybody. How's it going? Katie's playing. Thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. Catflish, how's it going? Massive raid. Thank you so much. Bread crochets. Read and rap. How's it going? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hear me now, quote me later. Healthcare is easy. It's not that our government can't. It's that they won't. Oh yeah, we've pretty much accepted that. It's pretty obvious that our political system is not in any hurry to change any economic system into a more equal one. True. Mousesander, how's it going? Honestly, I thought I already was before this raid. No problem. I appreciate that though. There are a few wonderful folks in chat. Let me make sure we do some quick shoutouts. What? There we go. I think I got everybody. Surfer McCurdy. Oh, we got another one. There we go. I think I got everybody. I hope. It sucks to be so critical and negative, but there's literally nothing good happening. Yeah, like the whole point, like just to be clear, first of all, no one is above criticism. And second of all, I'm even more disheartened because this was the one chance we got to potentially, maybe, kind of, hopefully, sort of, perhaps, do something. And you're blowing it.
We're also going to cut costs to keep the economy going strong and giving workers a fair shot. Provide more training and apprenticeships, hire them based on skills, not just their degrees. Let's pass the Paycheck Fairness Act and paid leave. Raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And extend the child tax credit so no one has to raise a family in poverty. Let's increase Pell Grants, increase our historic support for HBCUs, and invest in what Jill, our First Lady who teaches full-time, calls America's best-kept secret, community colleges. Look.
Yeah, all of this is part of... What?
When the majority of workers want to form a union, they shouldn't be able to be stopped.
That's true. Yes, that's true. But all of this is what he's describing is the Build Back Better Act. That's basically what he's describing. It didn't happen, bro. It didn't happen, okay? It didn't happen. It's not going to happen. Too bad we can't speed up these politicians in real life. Oh yeah, true. Folks, for those of you coming in, if you don't know who we are A Difficult Truth. We do news and politics Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and join us for Saturday Catterdays around noon Eastern Time. We've got kitty cats that are 100% guaranteed every Saturday, so stick around for that. I appreciate the raid, and I appreciate all the new follows. You get 5 free emotes too, look at that. 15 hours, not much. It's still not as much as one might pay to park in many places. True. True.
When we invest in our workers and we build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out together, we can do something we haven't done in a long time. Build a better America. For more than 2 years, COVID has impacted every decision in our lives and the life of this nation. And I know you're tired, frustrated, and exhausted. That doesn't even count the close to 1 million people who sit at a dining room table or a kitchen table and look at an empty chair because they lost somebody. But I also know this. Because of the progress we made, because of your resilience and the tools that we have been provided by this Congress, tonight I can say we're moving forward safely back to more normal routines. We've reached a new moment in the fight against COVID-19, where severe cases are down to a level not seen since July of last year. Just a few days ago, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention issued a new mask guidelines. Under the new guidelines, most Americans and most of the country can now go mask-free. And based on projections, more of the country will reach a point across the next couple of weeks. And thanks to the progress we made in the past year, COVID-19 no longer need control our lives. I know some are talking about living with COVID-19, but tonight I say that we never will just accept living with COVID-19. We'll continue to combat the virus as we do other diseases. And because this virus mutates and spreads, we have to stay on guard. And here are 4 common sense steps as we move forward safely, in my view. First, stay protected with vaccines and treatments. We know how incredibly effective vaccines are. If you're vaccinated and boosted, you have the highest degree of protection. We'll never give up on vaccinating more
You should be
Americans.
wearing a mask.
Now, I know parents with kids under 5 are eager to see
Nah,
the
but
vaccines
he's
authorized for
already...
children. Scientists are working hard to get that done. We'll be ready with...
He's 1,000% vaccinated and boosted. Like, I'm completely convinced that he is, so.
Plenty of vaccines if and when they do. We're all ready. We are also ready with antiviral treatments. If you get COVID-19...
Trashmancer, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that.
90%. I've ordered more pills than anyone in the world has. Pfizer's working overtime to get us 1 million pills this month and more than double that next month. And now we're launching the Test to Treat initiative. So people can get tested at a pharmacy, and if they prove positive, receive the antiviral pills on the spot at no cost.
What? You can provide medication testing and treatment for free? Huh. Interesting. Interesting.
If you're immunocompromised or have some other vulnerability, we have treatments and free high-quality masks. We're leaving no one behind or ignoring anyone's needs as we move forward. On testing, we've made hundreds of millions of tests available, and you can order them for free to your doorstep. And we've already ordered free tests. If you already ordered free tests tonight, I'm announcing you can order another group of tests.
What? Providing free tests? No way. Damn. Benjamin P. Dixon coming off with another back-to-back raid. Thank you so much. Coming in hot with a rate of 43. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Jam Tomb, how's it going? Yeah, it's a Big Ben raid. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Not bad. How are you? I'm hanging in there. Folks, don't forget to check out the Benjamin P. Dixon Show. Don't forget to check out Jam Tomb. I appreciate you guys hanging out. If you don't know who we are A Difficult Truth. We do news and politics Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And check us out Saturday, noon Eastern Time. We got Kitty Cats guaranteed on stream. Guaranteed 100% of the time there will be some type of kitty cat on the stream on Saturdays. Appreciate all of that. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. Samuline the Kind Dragon. Tier 1 sub. 6 months. Thank you so much. Wow. All the new follows. Back-to-back massive raids. Thank you for all the support. I appreciate that. Thank you. I once heard describe it like this. Battle for Justice will always likely rage on. And will always need to be fought for until we finally reach that nirvana, like a state of cohabitation. So basically, try not to feel small and insignificant when considering wanting progress, because the battle for progress has always been battled. Yeah, it's an ongoing thing. Yes. Thank you so much. Look at that, folks. Real quick before we continue, because we've got a lot to cover, and I don't know if we have enough time, but we'll try to get through as much. Folks, please go check out Dr. Binwin. Please go check out Carpet Packs. Please go check out Alio. You'll see them with the little diamond next to their name. Sorry for McGritty. I think I got everybody. Jam Tomb. I think I got everybody. Heat420_. If you see a little diamond, and Troma. If you see a little diamond, please go check them out. Hit that follow button, show some support. I don't have enough hair left to watch the State of the Union. Yeah, unfortunately, there's not much left, to be quite honest.
Go to covidtest.gov starting next week and you can get more tests. Second, we must prepare for new variants. Over the past, we've gotten much better at detecting new variants.
Roy Velvet, thank you for the follow.
New vaccines within 100 days instead of maybe months or years. And if Congress provides the funds we need, we'll have new stockpiles of tests, masks, pills ready if needed. I can't promise a new variant won't come, but I can promise you we'll do everything within our power to be ready if it does. Third, We can end the shutdown of schools and businesses. We have the tools we need. It's time for America to get back to work and fill our great downtowns again with people. People working from home can feel safe and begin to return to their offices. We're doing that here in the federal government. The vast majority of federal workers will once again work in person. Our schools are open.
It was a bit cringe, but you know, what can you say?
Let's keep it that way. Our kids need to be in school.
John Paul Jewelers knows you have a choice.
Why are you trying to sell me jewelry? That's weird.
With 75% of adult Americans fully vaccinated and hospitalizations down by 77%, most Americans can remove their masks and stay in the classroom and move forward safely. We achieved this because we provided free vaccines, treatments, tests, and masks. Of course, continuing this costs money.
We provided free, not only vaccinations, treatments, tests, everything for free. So you're telling me it's possible. You just don't. Okay.
So I'm not surprised I'll be back to see you all. I'm going to soon send a request to Congress. The vast majority of Americans have used these tools and may want again. We may need them again. So I expect Congress, and I hope you'll pass that quickly. Fourth, we'll continue vaccinating the world. We've sent 475 million vaccine doses to 112 countries, more than any nation on Earth. We won't stop. Because you can't build a wall high enough to keep out a vaccine. The vaccine can stop the spread of these diseases.
Yes.
You know, we've lost so much in COVID-19. Time with one another. The worst of all, much the loss of life. Let's use this moment to reset. So stop looking at COVID as a partisan dividing line. See it for what it is, a god-awful disease. Let's stop seeing each other as enemies and start seeing each other for who we are, fellow Americans. Look. We can't change how divided we've been.
Then I remember looking at Elysium.
But we can change how to move forward on COVID-19 and other issues that we must face together. I recently visited the New York City Police Department days after the funerals of Officer Wilbur Mora and his partner, Officer Jason Rivera. They were responding to a 9/11 call when a man shot and killed them with a stolen gun. Officer Mora was 27 years old. Officer Rivera was 22 years old. Both Dominican Americans who grew up in the same streets that they later chose to patrol as police officers. I spoke with their families, and I told them that we were forever in debt for their sacrifices and will carry on their mission to restore the trust and safety every community deserves. Like some of you that have been around for a while, I've worked with you on these issues for a long time. I know it works.
We know.
Investigating crime prevention and community policing, cops who walk the beat, who know the neighborhood, and who can restore trust and safety. Let's not abandon our streets or choose between safety and equal justice. Let's come together and protect our communities, restore trust, and hold law enforcement accountable. That's why the Justice Department has required body cameras, banned chokeholds, and restricted no-knock warrants for its officers. That's why the American Rescue Plan that you all provided $350 billion that cities, states, and counties can use to hire more police, invest in more proven strategies. Proven strategies like...
That's not...
Proven strategies like community violence interruption, trusted messengers, breaking the cycle of violence and trauma, and giving young people some hope. We should all agree the answer is not to defund the police. It's to fund the police. Fund them. Fund them. Fund them with resources and training. Resources and training they need to protect our communities.
Jesus.
I ask Democrats and Republicans alike to pass my budget to keep our neighborhoods safe. And we'll do everything in my power to crack down on gun trafficking of ghost guns that you can buy online, assemble at home. No serial numbers. Can't be traced. I asked Congress to pass proven measures to reduce gun violence.
Please go follow
pass
them
universal
as well.
background checks. Why should anyone on the terrorist list be able to purchase a weapon? Why? Why?
They're not?
And folks, ban assault weapons with high-capacity magazines hold up to 100 rounds. You think the deer are wearing Kevlar vests? Look, repeal the liability shield. It makes gun manufacturers the only industry in America that can't be sued. The only one. Imagine had we done that with the tobacco manufacturers. These laws don't infringe on the Second Amendment. They save lives. The most fundamental right in America is the right to vote and have it counted. And look, it's under assault. In state after state, new laws have been passed. Not only suppress the vote, we've been there before, but to subvert the entire election. You can't let this happen.
Stop.
Tonight I call on the Senate to pass the...
Wait, what? I'm so lost. What? Oh, okay.
The Freedom to Vote Act, pass the John Lewis Act, Voting Rights Act. And while you're at it, pass the Disclose Act so Americans know who's funding our election. Look.
I mean,
tonight,
yes.
I'd like to honor someone who dedicated his life to serve this country. Justice Breyer, an Army veteran, constitutional scholar, retiring Justice of the United States Supreme Court. Justice Breyer, thank you for your service. Thank you. I mean it. Get up, stand up and see me. Thank you. And we all know, no matter what your ideology, we all know one of the most serious constitutional responsibilities a president has is nominating someone to serve on the United States Supreme Court. as I did 4 days ago, I've nominated the Circuit Court of Appeals Ketanji Brown Jackson, one of our nation's top legal minds, who will continue in Justice Breyer's legacy of excellence. A former top litigator in private practice, a former federal public defender, from a family of public school educators and police officers. She's a consensus builder. Since she's been nominated, she's received a broad range of support, including the Fraternal Order of Police and former judges supported by Democrats and Republicans. Folks, if we're to advance liberty and justice, we need to secure our border and fix the immigration system.
What?
And as you might guess, I think we can do both. At our border, we've installed new technology like cutting-edge scanners to better detect drug smuggling. We've set up joint patrols in Mexico and Guatemala to catch more human traffickers. We're putting in place dedicated immigration judges in a significant larger number so families fleeing persecution and violence can have their cases heard faster, and those who don't legitimately hear can be sent back. We're securing commitments and supporting partners in South and Central America to host more refugees and secure their own borders. We can do all this while keeping lit the torch of liberty that has led a generation of immigrants to this land, my forebears and many of yours. Provide a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, those with temporary status, farm workers, essential workers. Revise our laws so businesses have workers they need and families don't wait decades to reunite. It's not only the...
Bro, why not just say build the wall? Why not just say that? Just say the Trump lines. So did he say he's actually doing the thing where they protect Ukrainian skies with fighter jets? No, I think that he's denying Russian aircraft to go into U.S. skies. So
the right thing to do, it's economically smart thing to do. That's why the immigration reform is supported by everyone from labor unions to religious leaders to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Let's get it done once and for all. Folks, advancing liberty and justice also requires protecting the rights of women. The constitutional right affirmed by Roe v. Wade, standing precedent for half a century, is under attack as never before. If you want to go forward, not backwards, we must protect access to health care, preserve a woman's right to choose, and continue to advance maternal health care for all Americans. And folks, for our LGBTQ plus Americans, let's finally get the Bipartisan Equality Act.
Is this still an act of war? Will they shoot down Russian jets over the U.S.? They might. They're technically, any jet or plane that violates that airspace could be escorted out or shot down, in which case we're, yeah. But I don't think they'll actually do that, though. It just, because it doesn't make sense. I mean, what, we want to end this in a nuclear holocaust? Is that what we're wanting?
My desk. The onslaught of state laws targeting transgender Americans and their families. It's simply wrong.
Why are Pentagon officers sitting with the Supreme Court justices? I've never noticed this before, and it disturbs me. Huh. That is a good point. That is unsettling.
I said last year, especially to our younger transgender Americans, I'll always have your back as your president so you can be yourself and reach your God-given potential. Folks, as I've just demonstrated, while it often appears we do not agree, and that we do agree on a lot more things than we acknowledge. I signed 80 bipartisan bills into law last year, from preventing government shutdowns, protecting Asian Americans from still too common hate crimes, to reforming military justice, and will soon be strengthening the Violence Against Women Act that I first wrote 3 decades ago. It's important. It's important for us to show the nation. We can come together and do big things. So tonight I'm offering a unity agenda for the nation. 4 big things we can do together, in my view.
Bro, funding the government isn't like a massive W. It's just basics. That's not a W.
First, beat the opioid epidemic. There's so much we can do.
Like?
Increase funding for prevention, treatment, harm reduction and recovery. Get rid of outdated rules and stop doctors that stop doctors prescribing treatments.
Huh?
Stop the flow of illicit drugs by working with
Decriminalize, destigmatize. End the drug war, my dude. That's it. Decriminalize these drugs. Get people help. Literally, that's it. Decriminalize, destigmatize, and get some type of universal healthcare system so folks can get the help they need.
State and local law enforcement to go after the traffickers. And if you're suffering from addiction, you should know you're not alone. I believe in recovery, and I celebrate the 23 million Americans in recovery. Second, let's take on mental health, especially among our children whose lives and education have been turned upside down. The American Rescue Plan gave schools money to hire teachers and help students make up for lost learning. I urge every parent to make sure your school does just that. They have the money. We can all play a part. Sign up to be a tutor or a mentor. Children were also struggling before the pandemic, bullying, violence, trauma, and the harms of social media. As Frances Haugen, who is here tonight with us, has shown, we must hold social media platforms accountable for the national experiment they're conducting on our children for profit.
I mean, yes. So,
folks,
what do though?
A family vacation in a Verbo means leaving.
Listen, just because I want to go on vacation doesn't mean I have this kind of vacation money. All right? Relax, YouTube.
Thank you for the courage you showed. It's time to strengthen privacy protections. Ban targeted advertising to children.
True.
Demand tech companies stop collecting personal data on our children.
True.
And let's get all Americans the mental health services they need. More people can turn for help.
By creating a universal healthcare system? Yes? God.
Help and full parity between physical and mental health care if we treat it that way in our insurance. Look, the third piece of that agenda is support our veterans. Veterans are the backbone and the spine of this country. They're the best of us. I've always believed
What?
that we have a sacred obligation to equip those we send to war and care for those in their family when they come home. My administration is providing assistance in job training, housing, and now helping lower-income veterans get VA care debt-free. And our troops in Iraq and Afghanistan have faced many dangers, one being stationed at bases breathing in toxic smoke from burn pits. Many of you have been there. I've been in and out of Iraq and Afghanistan over 40 times. These burn pits that incinerate waste, the waste of war, medical and hazardous material, jet fuel, and so much more. And they come home, many of the world's fittest and best trained warriors in the world. Never the same. Headaches, numbness, dizziness. A cancer that would put them in a flag draped coffin. I know. One of those soldiers was my son, Major Boba.
Yeah, listen. It is tragic. It is tragic. A lot of homeless folks are veterans. The question I have here: who sent them there? Who created the scenario that led to this outcome? All of you motherfuckers. All of these in this Congress. That's all you. All of you.
I don't know for sure if the burn pit that he lived near, that his hooch was near, in Iraq and earlier than that in Kosovo, is the cause of his brain cancer, the disease of so many other troops. But I am committed to find out everything we can. Committed to military families like Danielle Robinson from Ohio, the widow of Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson. He was born a soldier, Army National Guard, combat medic in Kosovo and Iraq, stationed near Baghdad just yards from burn pits the size of football fields. Danielle is here with us tonight. They love going to Ohio State football games. And he loved building Legos with their daughter. But cancer from prolonged exposure to burn pits ravaged Heath's lungs and body.
Yeah, it was Lindsey Graham.
Danielle says Heath was a fighter to the very end. He didn't know how to stop fighting, and neither did she. Through her pain, she found purpose to demand that we do better.
I didn't know that, Jam Tomb. Yikes. I did not know that. That's disturbing.
Tonight, Danielle, we are going to do better. The VA is pioneering new ways of linking toxic exposure to disease, already helping more veterans get benefits. And tonight, I'm announcing we're expanding eligibility to veterans suffering from 9 respiratory cancers. I'm also calling on Congress to pass a law to make sure veterans devastated by toxic exposure in Iraq and Afghanistan finally get the benefits of the comprehensive health care. And fourth and last, let's end cancer as we know it.
It is unbelievable to me that these folks have the audacity that these folks have the audacity to stand up and clap for that. It is unbelievable to me, the audacity. The brazen, completely, the brazen disregard for the fact of the matter that the only reason these veterans are having the problems that they are having because of them. It's because of them. I made 5 free options and you can make... oh, if you want to post a link to the Discord, I think you can post links. I'm pretty sure I made you VIP. Yes, oh no, I didn't make you VIP. Thanks for the follow, Underground Ecstatic. Approved of what they heard, and many said to feel optimistic and proud. Yeah, a lot of Americans, Gen X Mushy, thank you for the follow, appreciate that. Jesus. Hey Dimesh, how's it going? We're almost there, folks.
This is personal. This is personal to me and to Jill and to Kamala, and so many of you. So many of you have lost someone you love. Husband, wife, son, daughter, mom, dad. Cancer is the #2 cause of death in America, second only to heart disease. Last month, I announced the plan to supercharge the cancer moonshot that President Obama asked me to lead 6 years ago. Our goal is to cut cancer death rates by at least 50% over the next 25 years. I think we can do better than that. Turn cancers from death sentences into treatable diseases. More support for patients and their families. To get there, I call on Congress to fund what I call ARPA-H, Advanced Research Projects Agency for Health. Pattern after DARPA in the Defense Department. Projects that led in DARPA to the internet, GPS, and so much more to make our forces more safer and be able to wage war more with more clarity. ARPA will have a singular purpose, to drive breakthroughs in cancer, Alzheimer's, and diabetes, and more. A unity agenda for the nation. We can do these things. It's within our power, and I don't see a partisan edge to any one of those 4 things. My fellow Americans, tonight, we've gathered in this sacred space, the citadel of democracy, in this capital. Generation after generation of Americans have debated great questions, amid great strife, and have done great things. We fought for freedom, expanded liberty, debated totalitarianism and terror. We built the strongest, freest, and most prosperous nation the world has ever known. Now is the hour, our moment of responsibility, our test of resolve and conscience, of history itself. It is in this moment that our character of this generation is formed. Our purpose is found. Our future is forged. Well, I know this nation. We'll meet the test, protect freedom and liberty, expand fairness and opportunity, and we will save democracy. As hard as those times have been, I'm more optimistic about America today than I've been my whole life, because I see the future that's within our grasp, because I know there's simply nothing beyond our capacity. We're the only nation on earth that has always turned every crisis we faced into an opportunity. The only nation that can be defined by a single word, possibilities. So on this night, on our 245th year as a nation, I've come to report on the state of the nation, the state of the union. And my report is this: the state of the union is strong because you, the American people, are strong. We are stronger today. We are stronger today than we were a year ago. And we'll be stronger a year from now than we are today. This is our moment to meet and overcome the challenges of our time. And we will, as one people, one America, the United States of America. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you. Go get him.
What?
Hey, parent.
Wait, go get who? What? Anyways. You have to scroll up. In which channel, Jam2? Maybe that could be my final free emote that I can just put up. Is that nationalism? That is as close to it as possible, if not that outright. Go get who? Okay.
You can't have an office when you're not in an office.
Oh my God.
Well, unless you have Connect Team. With Connect Team's app, you can easily track your employees' hours in real time, get things done from anywhere, manage the work schedule, create tasks on the...
Ah!
The hard way of bringing back... Thank you very much, and it's great to be back where it all started with the great patriots of CPAC. Thank you very much.
Oh my God, I don't think I can handle this.
Standing before you today, I'm thrilled to report that our incredible movement, a movement that nobody's ever seen anything quite like it, there has never been anything like it before, is strong and growing stronger every
Oh, that's a
single
common old
day.
man saying? Okay, gotcha.
The radical left is exposed, they're weak, and their pathetic policies have been out there long enough now that we don't want them, we'll never take them. We are bringing back our country, and we are bringing back our freedom.
Remember, the radical left is both weak and both an existential threat to our country. Okay, and I made this channel. Okay. I made this. You have to scroll up. Oh my God, Discord. I'm gonna go all the way up. Okay. Maybe it's easier with the phone. I love all these duckies. Are these ducks? No, they're goose. Geese? They're just way up. That's the Demon Goose Brigade. Nice. Which one is the LOL alternate? Is it the one with the Oh, okay. Well, this top one over here, like right under the bill, right under the dollar bill, we could use that as an alternate. Oh, this one. Yeah, this one's here too. But there's a big shadow over this, and with the State of the Union, Ukraine and sanctions, speech was actually generally well received here in Europe, as much as I've seen. Yeah. Oh, okay, I see. So they're all up for grabs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. I'm gonna keep this here. All right, let's see how far we can get.
The socialists, globalists, Marxists, and communists.
Whoa. Jesus Christ, we're 10 seconds in and we're already doing dog whistles.
Attacking our civilization, have no idea.
The existential threat that, you know, the globalists are creating. The Marxist globalists are creating. Yeah.
The sleeping giant, they have awoken. We are a sleeping giant.
Oh, come on.
Some crowd, we broke the record again. We broke the record again. But they're going to find out the hard way starting on November 8th, and then again, even more so, on November 2024. They will find out like never before. We did it twice, and we'll do it again. We're going to be doing it again.
A woman, a man, a baby, a hyena, and a horse.
2022 will be the
Oh my God.
together to make America great again. We had it done. The election was rigged.
It was not.
They've undone some of it, not all of it. They'll never be able to do all of it because we'll be acting long before they can do all of it. It was up to them. They do everything they could to destroy our country. But we can build it back again quickly and even better than before because they have lost all credibility. They've proven during this period of time that their policies are a disaster and that their policies don't.
Which policies? Can we be specific? We're gonna refresh one time and then we're gonna move on. Because I'm sorry, I can't do this.
You can't have an office.
Continue together to make America great again. We had it done. The election was rigged. They've undone some of it, not all of it. They'll never be able to do all of it because we'll be acting long before they can do all of it. It was up to them. They do everything they could to destroy our country. But we can
Are you just being a
build it
debate
back
bro with
again
Trump?
quickly
Yes.
and even better than before
Listen.
because they have lost all
I'm a
credibility.
I'm a
They've proven
closet
during
debate
this
bro,
period
okay?
of time that their policies are a disaster and that their policies don't work. We'll get voter ID. We'll never defund the police. Ridiculous cancel culture will be wiped out entirely.
Jesus.
The wall will be quickly completed.
I thought the wall was completed. The wall.
Build the wall.
Schrodinger's wall again. Schrodinger's wall, folks. And also, we just heard a speech where Biden said that we're not going to defund the police. We're going to fund it even more. So that's going to fall flat.
Complete the wall in 3 weeks. Took 2.5 years on the wall, 2.5 years to win all of the litigation, over 11 lawsuits that they threw at us. And we have it just about finished. And then I said, they can't be serious. They don't want to close up the little loops. But nobody's ever had a border so secure as the border that we had.
Wait, but I thought...
We'll be sealed good and tight, except for people coming into our country legally. The drugs pouring in, the human trafficking will stop. And we will, again, save our country from destruction.
Damn.
I want to thank the American Conservative Union for putting on this incredible show, this great program of patriots, and in particular,
yeah, Trump is going to cancel culture.
Thank you very much. We have some great Republican leaders tonight also, and we have so many that I'm going to leave some out. It's always a disaster when we do this because they'll say, sir, and it takes me a year to make up. It takes me a year because it's a year before they sit before you again. But we'll give it the best we can. I want to thank, and these are great people. These are patriots. Senator Rick Scott. Rick. Thank you, Rick.
Voldemort himself.
Rick. Senator Bill Hagerty. Bill, Tennessee. Great state of Tennessee. Thank you, Bill. And John Kennedy. He's running. It's not going to be much of an election. He's going to win so easily.
John Kennedy.
Where's John? Look at John. Where is John? Great. John, you're popular, John. Wow.
It's a circus, folks.
Comes from an incredible state. The other senator's not so good in that state, I must be honest with you. But John Kennedy is fantastic. Went to Oxford. You know that? He went to Oxford. He was an incredible student, brilliant guy, and he's with us all the way. Also, Representatives Madison Cawthorn. Where's Madison? Madison. They're doing everything they can to stop him. They're doing everything, but that will not be successful, will it? Mark Green. Mark. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Thank you. A person who's very shy, doesn't like speaking her mind, but she does it anyway. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Oh yeah, that's the I know her. I know Representative Green. She was the one that was being introduced at a conference being hosted by Nick Fuentes, a neo-Nazi. Yeah, I know her.
Where's Marjorie?
These are the great people that Trump is pointing to. Yeah.
A man that knows me almost better than any human being.
Hey, Zoo.
He knows every inch of me. And he thinks it's actually a very beautiful sight. That's why I like it. That's why I like it. He was the White House doctor. And also, for Obama and for Bush. And I'd love to ask him who's in the best shape.
Cringe.
He was also an incredible admiral, highly respected by everybody. He was a great admiral. So he was a great doctor, a great admiral. And you know what he is now? He's an incredible, loving, wonderful, but very tough politician from Texas. Congressman Ronnie Jackson. Thank you, Ronnie. We love Ronnie. He said President Trump is the healthiest president in history. If he didn't eat junk food, he'd live for 200 years. That got us into a lot of trouble, right, Ronnie? That statement got us into trouble, but that's okay. We all love you, Ronnie. Thank you. Great job. Great job. A man who's terrific, who really loves our country, and who's loved in the state of Florida. Matt Gaetz. Where's Matt?
Oh, yeah, the guy. Oh, another great person. The guy who's being investigated for sex trafficking children. Hey, Jesus for Peace. Look, look, look. Look, they're talking about your people. Alleged child sex traffickers, people who hanging out with neo-Nazis. Damn. Greatest Christian president, right?
Good guy. Former congressman, and now happens to be working on a little project called Truth Social, which has been trending at the top all over the place, and it's going to give our voice back. And he's tough as hell. Former Congressman Devin Nunes.
Yeah, Jam Tune.
Where is Devin? Devin. He's tough. And you know, I don't have all these names, but I happened to see a star. 128-1 in wrestling. He was serious. Don't wrestle him. A man who, I mean, every time he goes on television, it's like a fight. He gets on, he's got one point, the other point, the other point, and there's nobody like him. And if you ever saw him work out, the machine starts to burn, the treadmill starts to go up on fire. He's still in great shape, but he's a tough cookie, all-American wrestler, and nobody like him, really. There's nobody like him. Congressman Jim Jordan. Congressman Jim Jordan.
Jim Jordan.
And Polly. And Polly produced one All-American or two. Is it two? One? Two. She said two. Two All-American wrestlers. And I said, are you better than your father was? He said, no, sir. Nobody's better than my father was. That's only a son could say that, right?
Oh, yeah. It's super sauce.
Thank you for being here. Great people. And Governor Kevin Stitt. We know Governor Stitt. He's here someplace. Governor Stitt. And by the way, I noticed a patriot in our midst. Mike Lindell. Will you stand up?
Yeah, patriot. Remember, folks, the true patriots are the ones who are continuing to undermine the the semblance of democratic institutions. Those are the true patriots. Those are the true patriots.
He's a patriot. He's a patriot. He's a great guy, too. He spent his life, over 2 years, he spent a whole life. I will tell you what he does and what he goes through, what he believes. He's a great patriot. Thank you, Mike, very much. Another great patriot. She's doing incredibly well in Arizona. She was the anchor. She was the anchor for 22 years. I hate to say that long. Was that about right? 22 years, and people loved her. And she's beautiful inside and out. You know, you're not allowed to say that anymore. It's politically incorrect, but it's true. She's beautiful inside and out. She's an incredible woman. Kari Lake. Kari Lake, everybody. And she is leading big. Wow, I just looked at a poll, Kari, and, well, you never know, right? So just keep working. Just keep working, but you're leading very big, and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much. And there's so many other people here. If I see them, if you don't mind, during the course of the speech, I'll just bring them out this way. It saves me a lot of problems for the rest of the year, or when they vote against me at some point. They'll vote against me because I didn't mention their name. You know, they're politicians, and they're vicious people. Somebody said, sir, you've been in business, you've been in entertainment, The Apprentice, and you've been in politics. Who are the toughest? Who are the worst? I said, the worst are the politicians. The toughest are the politicians.
Right, and Troma, this is a straw man.
And the biggest lying scum are the politicians. Like Adam Shifty Schiff. Where do you meet people like this? He actually made up a story about my phone call with the president of Ukraine, who, by the way, is a brave man. He's hanging in. He's a brave man.
So how long is this rambling?
And I like him because, you know, during that ridiculous
hour and a half.
waste of time, and the Republicans stood by us, we were 196-0. When did you ever hear Republicans do that? But this was truly a scam. But the president of Ukraine said he did nothing wrong. He could have said he did something, or he thought, well, I wasn't appropriate, you know, all the crap you have to listen to, right? He said he did absolutely nothing. I called him up to congratulate him on his victory. He said he did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong. I'm glad that tape was going. Those transcribers were writing during that call, because otherwise it could have been, but this is what
Can we just ignore him into obscurity yet? Hopefully soon, my friend.
Let me also express my enormous gratitude to every single one of you here today in the audience. We appreciate you being here. It's a great crowd. That's a lot of people. And that's a lot of fake news. Look at all those cameras up there. Wow.
I love this. I love this. He's like, yeah, look at all the fake news cameras, but please, 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 please transmit my my speech. Yeah, nobody thinks it's not PC to say beautiful inside and out. Like,
that's a lot of people. And my friends from North Carolina, they come to 92. Our beautiful friends, they've come to 90, I think it's 92 rallies and CPACs and other things. Thank you all very much. Thank you. I don't know if their husbands are happy about it, but they are beautiful people. They're great people. Thank you very much. Thank you for your dedication. You know what? The bottom line, they love our country. They love our country. Thank you. Appreciate it. So we've been together from the very beginning in this journey, and we are a long way from being done because we had something very bad happen, and we have to keep it going. We're not going to have a country left for an amazing 48 years. CPAC has helped to conserve, protect, and defend our magnificent American heritage. And this year, we're being vividly reminded how fragile and precious that heritage really is. I never knew how important being president was. I was president for 4 years. I think I did a great job. We did things that nobody could do.
You did such a great job, you weren't elected again.
But
Are they saying 12 more years?
The importance of the president, when I look at what's happening to our country today, the president is such an important representative. Now, we obviously know that. But just a wrong word or a wrong, like a yawn, or going to sleep very early, like at 4 o'clock.
What?
No, you just can't. It's just such an important, it's so important, psychologically so important for our country. I never really realized to that extent. I knew it was important, but you assume you're going to be doing certain things that are right. We rebuilt our economy and energy independence and all of those things, but you also have to portray
that's a lie.
to the outside world. Otherwise, they're going to walk all over you, and that's what they're doing right now. You could take the 5 worst presidents in American history and put them together, and they would not have done the damage that Joe Biden and his administration has done in just a very short 13 months. And no matter
Can you tell us how?
Our country has totally lost its self-confidence. Lost its self-confidence. We as a country have no confidence anymore, but we will get it back, and we'll get it back stronger than ever before. Whoever heard of that? Whoever heard of that? Our country has lost its self-confidence. Whoever heard of that? Whoever thought you'd be hearing? But it's true. We've lost our self-confidence. When you see the way
literally, this is a fabrication of his own mind. No idea what he's talking about right now.
Other countries being emptied out into our country. Just over 1 year ago, we had the most secure border in U.S. history. Record low gas prices. American energy independence. The fastest.
Yeah, remember Schrodinger's wall. Schrodinger's immigration policy. The same policies that are currently still remain don't work, but when he's in office, they do work. And there's quite a few of you in here. There's quite a few of you in here. Can somebody tell me what the difference is significantly between the current administration's immigration policy? We just heard him brag. We just heard Joe Biden brag about the type of immigration policy he wants. Can somebody tell me the significant difference between Joe Biden's immigration policy and Trump's? That's homework for you.
Economic recovery in the history of our country. Fastest economic recovery in history. And unrivaled military. We rebuilt the military and we added Space Force on top of it. And peace and quiet was all around the world. Now inflation is the highest in 40 years. Economists are talking about $5, $6, $7, and even $8 a gallon gasoline. Supply chains are crumbling. Store shelves are empty. Millions of illegal aliens are rushing our borders. Murders are setting records in cities. The streets of our Democrat-run cities are drenched.
Whoa, hold on. Slow down there, Gish Gallop. Slow down there, Ben Shapiro. Quick question. What could possibly have been going on during these last 2 years that would have caused a global, not just here, a global supply chain issue? Huh. Yeah, exactly. Doc, there's a difference? Yeah, but according to Trump, under Biden it doesn't work, but those same policies under Trump work. It's Schrodinger's immigration policy.
In blood, a radical left zealot has been nominated to the Supreme Court of the United States.
What?
China is threatening Taiwan.
What? We did it? We got a we got a leftist Supreme Court justice? Damn. I guess we all need to go home now. We did it.
Russia is decimating Ukraine. Iran is on the cusp of a nuclear bomb.
No evidence for that.
The worst and most dangerous deal I've ever seen, and now they want to go back to it. The Iran nuclear deal. America and our great military has been humiliated in its surrender from Afghanistan, and that's what it was. It was a surrender for no reason whatsoever. We wanted to get out, but we had to get out with strength and with dignity. And a major war in Europe may very well erupt. That's how they start. Exactly what's happening today. This is how they start.
How's that
Joe Biden
Biden's
has
fault?
turned calm into chaos, competence into incompetence, stability into anarchy, and security into catastrophe.
What?
The Russian attack on Ukraine is appalling. It's an outrage and an atrocity that should never have been allowed to occur. It never would have occurred. We are praying for the proud people of Ukraine. God bless them all. God bless them all. Thank you. They are indeed brave. As everyone understands, this horrific disaster would never have happened if our election was not rigged and if I was the president.
Wrong.
Very simple. It wouldn't have happened. Under Bush, Russia invaded Georgia. Under Obama, Russia took Crimea. Under Biden, Russia invaded Ukraine. I stand as the only president of the 21st century on whose watch Russia did not invade another country.
I am the only president who was lucky enough that it didn't happen. I was the president who was lucky enough that they were in the preparation stages instead of actually doing it during my presidency. Jesus Christ. That's right. Yeah, but not because of anything he did. Not because of anything he did, Tendera.
I gave Ukraine the javelins that everyone is now talking about and millions of dollars of other military equipment. The Obama administration gave them blankets. You remember they gave them blankets. They said, we need more than blankets. No, we gave you blankets. They sent them blankets. Thank you very much. Under our leadership, the world was a peaceful place because America was strong and the perception of our country was perhaps like it had never been before. Powerful, cunning, and smart. We were a smart country. Now we're a stupid country. We always, very simply, put America first. That was the answer.
Uh-oh.
With the Abraham Accords, we had peace in the Middle East. We had peace in Europe. China knew that it could no longer take advantage of the United States. And I was proud to be the first president in decades who did not get our country into any wars. I got you out of wars. Thank you. Thank you. Under our administration, Russia respected America, just like every other country respected America, and they really respected us a lot. But now Joe Biden is seen as a weak, and I hate to say it because I want him to do a great job. I really want him to do. Politically, I don't care. I would much rather have him do a great job than a poor job. But nobody could ever believe how bad and weak and grossly incompetent it has been. And when you have a weak president who is not respected by other nations, you have a very chaotic world. And the world hasn't been this chaotic since World War II. I think we can say that. We can say that very strongly. I have no doubt that President Putin made his decision to ruthlessly attack Ukraine only after watching the pathetic withdrawal from Afghanistan, where the military was taken out first, our soldiers were killed.
No evidence for that.
$85 billion worth of the finest equipment anywhere in the world were left behind. Yesterday, reporters asked me if I thought President Putin was smart. I said, of course he's smart, to which I was greeted with, oh, that's such a terrible thing to say. I'd like to tell the truth, yes, he's smart. The NATO nations, and indeed the world, as he looks over what's happening strategically with no repercussions or threats whatsoever, they're not so smart. They're looking the opposite of smart. If you take over Ukraine, we're going to sanction you, they say. Sanction? Well, that's a pretty weak statement. Putin is saying, oh, they're going to sanction me. They sanctioned me for the last 25 years. You mean I can take over a whole country? They're going to sanction me? You mean they're not going to blow us to pieces, at least psychologically?
What?
The problem is
this
not that
insane.
Putin is smart, which of course he's smart, but the real problem is that our leaders are dumb. Dumb. So dumb.
This is insane. Yeah, you know what? You know what we should do? You know what's a great idea? Let's see how fast we can accelerate the nuclear holocaust. Jesus Christ. I can't do more with this asshat. I'll catch you later. No problem. I don't know how far we're going to get into this.
With this travesty and assault on humanity. That's what it is. This is an assault on humanity. It's so sad. Putin is playing Biden like a drum, and it's not a pretty thing as somebody that loves our country to watch. Just not a pretty thing to watch. You know, I was with Putin a lot. I spent a lot of time with him. I got along with him. I got along with President Xi. I got along with Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un has massive nuclear power. It's a good thing to get along with people, not a bad thing. You can be very tough and get along. You know, I'm the one that ended his pipeline. He said, you're killing me with the pipeline. Nobody else ended his pipeline. Biden came in, he approved it. But I did a lot of things that were very tough on Russia. No president was ever as tough on Russia as I was. And I'd come in, the fake news would say, Trump loves Russia, he loves Russia. Then we had the Russia hoax, which is now with Durham and Mueller and all the rest just a total hoax. It was a made-up, fictional story. But with respect to what's going on now, it would have been so easy for me to stop this travesty from happening. He understood me, and he understood that I didn't play games. This would not have happened. Someday I'll tell you exactly what we talked about. But we talked about it. And he did have an affinity. There's no question about it for Ukraine. I said, never let it happen. You better not let it happen. This is the only attack in history where the further he goes and the bigger it gets, and the worse it gets, and the more death that's caused, the more money he makes because oil prices keep climbing higher and higher and higher. There's never been anything like that where a warring nation, the more he makes it difficult to get oil, the more expensive it gets, and the more money he makes. And all those tanks roaming around are very expensive, but they're peanuts compared to the kind of money that he's making because of the tremendous increase in oil. You know, when I left, and during my term, oil was at $36 a barrel. Think of it, 36. Now it hit 100, and they think it's going to 150. So the Middle East and Saudi Arabia, a lot of countries, but Russia, right now in particular, is making more money than they ever dreamt possible. The cost of the war is very, very small compared to the kind of money they're taking in. There's never been a situation like that.
What? Can I get a source on this? Jesus.
It's horrible to watch. It's horrible because it's a disincentive for him to disengage. Remember, Joe and Hunter Biden got $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife and were never allowed to explain in the debate. Remember we had the debate? And I said, hey, what do you do with the $3.5 million that he got from the mayor of Moscow's wife? And Chris Wallace, who I assume is now fired from Fox, which is good.
I think he left. I don't know if he was fired. That's a lie.
Trump was right. That turned out to be another very appropriate question. He got $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife. Very rich family, I will tell you that. This is a conflict of interest, but at the same time, Joe Biden bragged.
Didn't someone in Trump's admin say Trump didn't even know where Ukraine was? Probably. Wouldn't surprise me.
He wouldn't allow $1 billion of American taxpayers' money to be given to Ukraine. They kept saying, where's the money, where's the money, where's the money? No, you got to get rid of that prosecutor. He's getting too close. Can you imagine if I did that? And it was on tape. And the fake news media, those people right there, refused to report it. And that's without mentioning the fact that China gave them $1.5 billion to manage. And he never managed money before other than the money.
I don't know how I feel about Trump's nose, Snowy.
You don't have to even think about it. And
I don't know. I'm trying to get through as much as possible, but it is getting close to 11, so...
Our country in their mind, but they probably knew talking about it would have been good. We can never really bring our country back unless we get an honest media, because they like the policing agent, and they refuse to air scandal. They refuse to air it. And it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen over the next 3 weeks or 4 weeks. as one of the worst scandals ever. I call it the crime of the century, ballot harvesting, as it gets released, and it's all on tape. It's all on tape.
All right, does he have anything else of value to provide?
May rise over the next 300 years, 1/100th of an inch. Giving you slightly more seafront property. And this is his problem. He's not thinking about the nuclear warming. He's thinking about giving you slightly about global warming. Oh, no, global warming. And we're talking about energy. We need oil, we need gas, we need everything. No, global warming.
Yes.
We have a world that's ready to blow up and disintegrate over energy, and he's talking about global warming. The oceans may rise over the next 300 years, 1/100th of an inch.
No.
Giving you slightly more seafront property. And this is his problem. He's not thinking about the nuclear warming. He's thinking about other types of warming. These people are not living in a world of reality. The reason we've got soaring gas prices is that Biden shut down American energy camps.
Says the person who's not living in reality. Okay, that's enough. Oh, yeah. Never mind. I think we went over it live. Yeah, if the continent of Europe was more renewable, Russia would be crippled. Sounds like a good idea to me. Yeah, I mean, like, that's the whole point. The whole argument would be for renewable. That is energy independence. That is energy independence.
This particular bill. This afternoon, the White House issued a statement criticizing Florida legislation that would restrict classroom discussion of sexual orientation or gender identity. It's relatively rare for the White House to weigh in on state-level legislation. So you can speak about the decision to weigh in on this particular bill and why this issue rose to the level that the White House wanted to put something out there?
Well, for those of you who weren't following this, maybe all of you were, but let me first say that every parent, as one myself too, hopes that our leaders will ensure their children's safety, protection, and freedom. And today, conservative politicians in Florida rejected those basic values by advancing legislation that is designed to target and attack the kids who need the support the most. Kids from the LGBTQI plus community who are already vulnerable to bullying, and we've seen that in study after study, and violence just for being themselves and just for being who they are. Make no mistake, this is not an isolated action in Florida. Across the country, we're seeing Republican leaders taking action to regulate what students can or cannot read, what they can or cannot learn, and most troubling, who they can or cannot be. This is who these kids are. And these legislators are trying to make it harder for them to be who they are.
Yes, I did, James.
So we felt it was important to speak out against this action and speak really and felt it was important to do that today.
America beats, what? We call it democracy, but when Russians defend the Russians? What? No one's defending the Russians. What? Oh, okay. What? Yeah, unfortunately the quartering is beyond unbearable, so I really don't want to watch this. Yeah, unfortunately, Old Growth Canopy, it's a lot of feelies, but I got really mad towards the end. I got really, really mad towards the end. Like, the audacity of these people to try to prop up, like, veterans and talk about the necessity to take care of veterans and how, you know, they've been damaged by war and how bad it is, and, you know, the mental health, the physical health that they need. And, like, they're all standing clapping when they're the ones who sent them there. They're the ones who created that problem. All of them in that room have the audacity to stand and clap for veterans' health, while they're the ones who made this problem. Must be nice if you're not the one out there fighting.
At Aspen Dental, we're a different kind of...
Let's see what's going on here.
They're coming up.
I was told.
We were swapping.
Call me an old fuddy-duddy. But, you know, as a content creator, it's something I have to deal with. All my locals have my cell phone number. Fortunately, I live in a small town. My locals have my cell phone number, and, you know, I'm a file on me, basically, that says, hey, if somebody calls something in, call him first on his cell phone, see what's going on. Don't just show up at their house. Which is odd that they keep showing Series X too. Fine. Funny. You know why it's not funny? It's because people have died. Don't like Tim. There are plenty of people that don't like me. There are people that I don't like.
We were swatted again.
Yeah, again.
Oh,
Are you serious?
Oh, maybe we can talk to them on camera. No, I just pull the white camera. If anybody wants to walk in here, is going to be on. They're going to be on live.
Yeah.
You think they would be interested? Well, I guess ask when he comes in.
No,
He's busy. He's on duty, so maybe not.
Are you serious? You guys swallowed again.
Yeah, third time.
Third time's a charm, I guess.
They know that's been happening, so they're ready for it now.
But I don't understand why they're coming up and coming in. They do a basic check now because they know us. It was like it was big news in there. You can't get it.
No.
Give me the live.
So they're going to actually.
Here's the thing. You know, these
so
officers...
I got swatted again. So my position is regardless. So regardless of what you feel about Tim Pool, there is zero justification. Oh, so just write that. Own QQ. So just, yeah. So regardless of how you feel about Tim Pool, swatting, the position, the correct position to have on swatting is always that it's horribly bad. It is very, very bad. Incredibly bad. So, swatting is a huge no-no. That's the TLDR. And given the videos we've seen about how police train when it comes to nasty situations, swatting is almost attempting to Roblox somebody. So no, it's not okay. I understand, Owen, but we don't know that unless we have to go through the whole process of translating. It's okay if you just say it in English. That's okay. Anyways, yeah. It's so funny since Tim Pool stopped inviting Jack Murphy on. He gets swatted even though Murphy has even made online threats to get people. Yeah, that's not okay. That's not okay regardless. Swatting is basically when you make the most heinous call to the police so that they have an overwhelming response to your house or to wherever you're filming in your studio or if you're live streaming, and the whole point is to get the police to come to your house while you're live. This was a more like popular, I don't want to say popular, but it happened very often when people get big mad over like Call of Duty games and stuff like that, until people started getting hurt, some of which got Robloxed. And yeah, it's never okay. It's scary when what's scary is when big streamers address swatting, it creates copycats, so they have to be very careful. Yeah, like, so it's just the position is swatting is never okay, period, full stop. It should be considered almost attempted Robloxing. Because, I mean, we all know how very measured and very hinged our cops are here. We all know how very hinged and very trained our cops are here. What? Why would anyone hate Russians?
Hunger, good health and well-being, and access to clean water and sanitation. This concept is climate resilient development.
Climate resilient development has to be considered across government and all of civil society. It should involve everyone, round the table, governments, citizens, communities, educational institutions, the media, investors, and businesses, forming partnerships. Scientific, indigenous, and local knowledge. And
all right, chat. We need to focus. We're still getting through the IPCC press conference, okay?
Practical know-how come together to provide more relevant, effective options. Ecosystem stewardship is key. A healthy planet is fundamental to climate resilient development. Effective and equitable conservation of approximately 30 to 50% of land, freshwater systems, and oceans can help ensure a healthy planet. Involving traditionally marginalized groups, including women, young people, indigenous peoples, local communities, and ethnic minorities, improves the prospects for effective action. It is critical to prioritize equity and justice in decision-making and investment. Different interests, values, and worldviews can be reconciled if everyone works together. Scaled-up investment and international cooperation are also important. Starting today, every action, every choice, and every decision matters, because each of them can take us away from or towards a climate-resilient, sustainable world.
True.
Worldwide action to achieve climate-resilient and sustainable development is more urgent than previously assessed.
Climate resilient development is already challenging at current global warming levels. The prospects will be further limited if global warming exceeds 1.5 degrees Celsius, and may not be possible in some regions, including small islands, deserts, mountains, and polar regions, if warming exceeds 2 degrees Celsius. The science is clear. Any further delay in concerted global action will miss a brief and rapidly closing window to secure a livable future. This report offers solutions to the world. This presentation has given you a snapshot of a wide range of topics that are covered in depth in this report. It's over to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts and Dr. Portner, for your presentation. We will now turn to questions. Before we do that, just to note that in addition to the summary for policymakers, the technical summary, and full report, we also have several other resources, including a global to regional atlas. We have also extracted critical regional information into a series of fact sheets. All these materials are available on the IPCC website. To the questions now, and for the first one, I will be looking for brief comments from both co-chairs. It's from Seth Borenstein with the Associated Press. Can you address the sense of gloom and foreboding in the future painted here? How less livable a world do you see if major emission cuts and adaptations aren't made? And how big a problem do you see climate migration and climate-connected conflict in 2040 and in 2100? In 2100. Dr. Roberts.
Thank you so much for that question. I would rephrase that. I don't think the report gives a sense of gloom. What it does do, though, is it gives a very serious reality check about where we are, where we might go to, but also provides us with a sense that we can be agents for change. If we look at the challenges that we're currently facing, a lot of those can be addressed by creating a more equitable and sustainable world, by developing a new social compact with the planet that we live on, and by focusing our attention where we get most bang for the buck, protecting nature, as has been previously mentioned, but also using the opportunity to change the places where the majority of people live in our cities. So I think that's the important message to take forward, a difficult reality, but action is possible, and we need to do it now.
Dr. Portner? Your microphone.
Adding to this, thank you. Adding to this is an important aspect that the choice should not be gloom and doom. The options are clear and the choices are clear. So the world has a limited time window available to move on the right track. And this understanding needs to evolve among policymakers and among society. And I think what this indicates that we see currently an inertia in implementation, and that we currently see a large implementation gap, is that this comes together with an education gap and an information gap. So the collaboration of science and the media is important. But what is also important is to improve the understanding of these basic rules of how life best functions on our planet. And what is also important, that there are natural laws that we should not break, and that should not be broken in similar ways as we do not cross red traffic lights in our cities. So this is, I think, a point of orientation, and our report provides that orientation. By following these options, it gives us hope that a sustainable and climate resilient world can be achieved.
Thank you very much. The next question is for Dr. Roberts. The report paints a grim prospect for Africa and small islands, developing states. Are there alternative solutions for short and long term to alter direction from grim opportunities?
Thank you so much for that question. Indeed, as I said before, the report is a real reality check, and it's particularly a reality check for the developing areas of the globe. Africa is called out, the small island states, Asia, Central and South America. But there are also the prospects for dynamic change in those areas. If we see, for example, a change in financial flows around the world and investment in sustainable development in these areas, if we take bold action in terms of emission reduction, then much can be done to reduce the exposure and vulnerability of areas such as the small island states. Africa, particularly where I come from, has an enormous opportunity in terms of its very rich natural heritage to take that and use that as an increased adaptive capacity to deal with climate change, both its impacts, but also the impacts that it has across our economies, across our development options. So I think while these areas are threatened, there is no doubt that there is room for improvement, both in terms of global partnerships to foster sustainable development, but also to use the enormous natural resources of continents like Africa as a way to tackle the climate change challenge.
Thank you very much. Question for both co-chairs. If increasingly, this is from Thomson Reuters Foundation, if increasingly clear warnings about the existential risks of climate change are not driving anywhere near sufficient action, how do we drive that needed action? Perhaps first to Dr. Portner and then to Dr. Roberts. Quick comments, please. Thanks.
Well, I'm afraid to say that increasing climate change and the associated impacts and risks and their implementation are certainly an important motivation for the mobilization we need in society and in policy. We have seen that with the release of the 1.5 degrees Celsius report in 2018, which was bringing climate change close to the individual on this planet. And this has started a mobilization that I think still needs to continue and still needs to be strengthened. So calling out climate change as an ally in that mobilization is certainly not a good perspective. We would rather like to see the risks being reduced and those impacts being avoided. But climate change already gives us strong examples of what can happen if the climate system is brought out of the balance that it has had for the last 8,000 years during the time when human civilization was built. In that respect, making and bringing this close to the thinking of policymakers and also of society is, I think, an important task that will need to be fulfilled. And this in-depth understanding will mobilize the action and the resources that are needed for this task.
Perhaps just building on that response, I think what is powerful about our Working Group 2 report is that we speak to the very places that people live, work, and relax in. We've got a very strong regional focus. And I think that enables us to bring messaging that increases the agency of human society. You will see that in this report, particularly, we've got a very strong focus on the issue of human settlements, urban areas, rural settlements, and particularly in cities where the majority of people live. We speak directly to the challenges that cities are facing now, the impacts on infrastructure, the increase in the heat island effect, and the challenges that all of those pose to human health and economic development. But we also lay out the solutions that may be available to urban areas around the world to tackle those challenges. And I think it's by providing that very clear line of sight between where I live and the problems I face to the kind of solutions I may be involved in, empowers people to take action. And I think we see that more and more as the science becomes clearer and relates more and more to people's lives. People mobilize more. And so I'm still optimistic about the ability to mobilize extensively around this report and create the kind of societal response that we need to see.
Thank you very much.
To add to this once more, Andre, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Any short-term action and any compromise with respect to other sectors and compromises are an important part of the political thinking and action, should have the long-term implications in mind, should consider the orientation, for example, that our report provides in terms of what are the implications for the long-term future if things go wrong in the short term. And this emphasizes the thought about the closing window of opportunity. So any decisions to be made during this crucial decade in climate policy are important for...
So... I agree. But the problem we're having here is that I just don't believe that the private sector is going to allow the political will to do what we need to do to even move in this direction. I just don't believe it. Yes, we know that the average Russians didn't ask for this. I actually don't fully believe the average soldier knew what was going to happen, or why we blame Putin and not the average Russian person. Yeah, like essentializing to the individual person is just not, it's just not correct. We've seen videos and transcripts where there are Russian soldiers who were lied to. In some cases, they were told that this was going to be a standard routine exercise, and next thing you know, they're in the middle of Ukraine.
Our long-term fate and for the sustainability of life on this planet. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that response. The next question is for the Secretary General of the World Meteorological Organization. It is from Thomson Reuters Foundation. The question is, the report makes clear that soft limits to adaptation are being reached already, including due to a lack of finance despite the urgency. Can this report finally shift the needle in terms of spurring more adaptation finance to the vulnerable, and if so, how?
Thank you for that question. It's clear that we have to invest more in adaptation besides mitigation. Mitigation is, of course, essential, and we have to stop this negative trend in climate, and that's very urgent, as also this report echoes. But besides that, we have to start investing in adaptation, because the negative trend in climate will continue until 2060s, independent of our success in climate mitigation. And the Working Group 1 report, which was published last August, was demonstrating that the sea level rise and melting of the glaciers may continue for the coming hundreds of years. So that means that we have partly already lost the battle, and we have to pay more attention to how to mitigate the climate-related risks. And this has to be taken into account in various sectors in the society. It's going to affect food security, it's going to affect infrastructures, it's going to affect health, and it's going to hit also economies very hard. It was already demonstrated by the so-called Stern report 15 years ago that it's up to 20 times cheaper to mitigate climate change than to live with the consequences. And now we are already facing these consequences, and they will become stronger.
That's right. It's
coming decades anyhow.
What is it? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of treatment.
Early warning services, which are in fairly poor shape in less developed countries. And we have also major gaps in the basic observing systems, especially in Africa, Caribbean and Pacific islands, which means that the early warning services, the quality is poor there, and we don't know where to adapt to because we don't have the baseline. So we have to invest in both basic observing systems and
that's only if you consider the financial costs.
Adaptation into account in many sectors, as this report is emphasizing.
Thank you very much for that response. The next question is for the chair of the IPCC, Dr. Hua-Sung Lee, as well as for Dr. Roberts. The question is, it's from South China Morning Post. The question is, the report mentioned Asia's risks and adaptation options to climate change. How do you assess China's resistance to the risks of water-related natural hazards, energy insecurity, and asset losses as mentioned in the report?
IPCC is an intergovernmental panel on climate change issues, and we are not in the position of commenting on specifically our member government's policies and programs. And if Deborah, Dr. Roberts wish to add, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much for that question. If we look at the information we provide on the area of Asia generally, we can see that we've already got millions of people in places like Asia, which are subject to acute food and water challenges in the present. So this is not a forward-looking issue. We have millions of people already affected by acute food and water shortages now in places like Asia. And if we think about a world of 2 degrees of global warming, then we know that under those conditions, even areas where we are capable of growing staple crops now will become unavailable for cultivation. And so we can see the rate of challenge is going to increase as every element of global warming increases the level of risk to which we are exposed, the range of impacts that we have to deal with. And so Asia, like many parts of the world, will have to deal with severe and current food and water crises going forward. And that's the importance of adaptation. We need to think about new ways of dealing with these problems. And our report talks to those solutions, new ways of cultivation, new crop types, thinking about how we conserve our water resources. And we know particularly Asia is critical because they have the water towers of the world in the mountains. And so thinking about those mountain ecosystems and the conservation of those ecosystems is important. But that scale of intervention is only possible if we've got governance that allows all levels of activity to be coordinated, if we've got adequate financial support, and civil society is brought to the table in order to participate in finding solutions.
Thank you very much for that. The next question, again, quick responses from both co-chairs. The Group 1 report said that we are going to reach, the question is from Ara newspapers in Barcelona. The Group 1 report said that we are going to reach 1.5 degrees Celsius no matter what before 2040. And in the better case scenario, we may reduce it after that. Then your predictions about extinction of species when we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius will be reached before 2040 for sure. What are the scenarios after that? Dr. Portner first, and perhaps then Dr. Roberts.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Certainly, we have considered overshoot scenarios in our report and have also considered their time duration, and they would last several decades until end of century before the temperature would be falling again. And during that time span, we expect the same level of impact as if we would have a stabilized level of increased warming at higher temperatures. It is fully in line with the statement that every bit of warming matters. So moving towards overshoot scenarios is not a safe haven that this strategy might promise. It will also lead to irreversible consequences. The melting of polar ice sheets will be increased, sea level rise will be increased, the loss of habitat and species with the potential for local extinction patterns will also increase. And there is an increasing risk associated with those higher temperatures of species losses
it's scary looking at countries that Russia, South Sudan, Egypt, Sudan, Yemen, Bangladesh, all countries that already have hunger issues. Jesus.
Increasing with increasing degrees degrees of warming. This excludes going for overshoot as a valid strategy in climate mitigation.
I think an important addition to that, and really the core DNA of the story we tell in the Working Group 2 report, is how closely human and natural systems are interconnected. And as Hans has pointed out, we have systems such as mountaintops, coral reefs, and others, coastal wetlands, which will be challenged in a scenario of overshoot. And this is critical because we're not only talking about the loss of ecosystems, but we're talking about the loss of ecosystems that are absolutely critical to underpinning the livelihoods, often of the most vulnerable in the world. And so this really raises the profile of the adaptation agenda, because we need to think about not only how we adapt to those changes in ecosystems, are there things we can do by increasing conservation areas, management, looking for refugia, but what do we do with the human societies that are impacted by these changes? And again, this talks to the need to tie in our climate change response to a strong development response, so that vulnerable communities have social safety nets. We put in place basic infrastructure. We think about realignment of financial resources. And so our report really speaks to this complex interrelationship.
I wonder why they dropped the report when so much stuff is happening. Well, I think that it's simply because that's what it was scheduled to do. This has been in the works for quite some time. So I think this is just like, they need to, they already had this scheduled. There's 3 working groups. We've already seen the first one. There was some leaked version of the third one. And this is the official press conference for the second working group findings or studies.
Being key sites for positive climate action, what are some of the most effective systems and strategies you have seen work practically on a citywide level, and what enhances their efficacy?
There's no doubt that cities offer us an important global-scaled but time-limited opportunity to act to increase our adaptive capacity. The majority of us already live in urban areas and cities, and certainly by the middle of the century, 2/3 of us will be living in urban areas. The opportunities in urban areas are multiple around planning and design of infrastructure, bringing nature back into the city. So often we've thought about nature as something that occurs outside city borders, but our report points out very clearly that if we bring nature back into the city, protect our floodplains, have trees along our streets, we can do a great deal to increase our adaptive capacity to deal with impacts of floods, heat stress, improve health. And so there's a real advantage in reconceptualizing our cities, not only as a place of people, but a place of nature. We also need to know, though, that amongst our cities, there's a subset, the coastal cities. And we know that we will have about 1 billion people living in low-lying coastal areas by the middle of the century that are particularly at risk. And they're particularly at risk because of the impacts of sea level rise, salination, flooding, heavy rainfall. And those are areas we would probably need to act on initially, because they are areas of high economic activity, connectivity to inland areas, and because of the range of risks they're exposed to. And in those areas, we would need to think, for example, about coastal defenses, moving away from hard sea walls to more productive coastal ecosystems, early warning systems to enable people to know when risks are emerging and to make suitable plans, to factor in that we need good governance, and that if one wants decent responses to the challenges that many of these areas would face, we have to have everyone around the table agreeing on the plans, and this includes the most vulnerable. And the report is really important, because it focuses us not only on the formal aspects of urban development, but calls out very strongly the informal settlements around the world where many of the most vulnerable live, and calls for a specific focus on these and a call to start investing in our informal settlements to change the tide, both literally and figuratively.
Thank you, Dr. Roberts. Next one for Dr. Portner. This is from CNN. With everything going on, how would you like this report to be interpreted and prioritized by policymakers and the world at large? And what do you expect from journalists to help keep the momentum going in the coming months and years?
Thank you very much for this important question. The report talks about the impacts, the risks. It also talks about our possibilities to adapt and brings those solution options to the fore, talking also about the effectiveness and their feasibility. But most importantly, we also talk about maladaptation, and we talk about adaptation limits. And these adaptation limits, together with the information about risk, provide orientation for the action of policymakers and also which future to go for. And this report strengthens the message around the agreement reached with the Paris Agreement, and it strengthens to move and push for the more ambitious side of it, with by casting light on the most vulnerable ecosystems on the planet, on the most vulnerable people on the planet, and also on the challenges that actually for some species and also for humans, we are starting to lose habitat in the most exposed areas of the planet, which are close to the equator. In the ocean, we're already seeing a development of a biodiversity valley, indicating and as a consequence of species moving towards the poles. There are also some areas on the planet that are represent environmental conditions where people can no longer be outside, and this is representing the same for our species as for others, a loss of habitat. So these trends will be strengthened with climate change, and I think continued communication between scientists and the media as well as policymakers is needed to bring such information to the fore, and as I said, to provide the information for ambitious action. And when I talk about action, I mean action along various lines that consider the interactions between nature, human society, and the climate system, and correct for the current imbalances that we see in these interactions due to the changing climate we are currently observing. In terms of motivating policymakers, I think it needs a mix of actions. As I said, in the short term, the information flow from science to policymakers and carried forward through the media, emphasized by the media, also the media reporting from the societal engagement and mobilization that is happening is key. But there is also urgency in developing the education systems, both the lower and higher education systems towards aspects and curricula that consider these existential challenges to humankind, which will be with us for decades.
This is all true. This is all true. We do need a completely revamped education system, and especially when it comes to climate change, it needs to be stressed when possible. And the problem is we're basically living in the plot of the movie Don't Look Up, okay? That's the problem. The media isn't interested in making a real effort to bring forth to the forefront the severity of this issue. Not really. Not much anyways.
Maybe even centuries to come, and educating the young and informing the adult population about these challenges will be key for ambitious global action. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that response. The next question
and
is
especially
from for Dr. Roberts.
combating
Do you think individual change,
misinformation,
that means change of way of life, is important at the same level of government and corporation? Or people have to wait before a strong commitment at an institutional level first? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that important question, because it speaks to each one of us and the way we live our lives. And I think our report is very clear. It indicates that this has to be a whole of society response. So not a single individual, community, city, or government can opt out. We all need to opt into the solution. And a key part of that is obviously the way we live our lives, the choices we make about how we live those lives, but importantly, how we use our sense of agency in the world, how we engage with governance processes, how we engage with leadership in our communities, the kind of priorities we express about the kind of world we want to see, which will influence policy. So all of this is critical. The individual can play a vital role through the choices and actions they take and make in their lives. There are many things that individuals cannot change and that rely on governments at all levels, local, provincial, regional, national, international, to act. And we need that to be concerted. But again, governments by themselves can't act alone. And we must see the private sector coming to the table as well. And so it requires all of us to be playing our part in different ways, but ensuring that those actions are fully integrated. I think this is what has been very clearly made as a...
What happens when the private sector has spent an untold amount of money to make sure that we don't have a solution, to make sure we torpedo any chance? What do you do then? Because if that's what's happening with the private sector. And the private sector, when it comes to the players that are involved, have a grip on the government sector. Then what?
Point in our report is that while action is happening, it's not rapid enough and it's uneven. So various elements of society are acting, others aren't, and we're not acting fast enough. And so it's a really strong call for all of us to start doing the heavy lifting that's going to ensure a just, equitable world and ensure that we have a sustainable planet for many generations still to come.
Thank you very much for that response. The next question is from The Print in India. It's for both co-chairs, so I'll be looking for quick responses there. The report talks about maladaptation. How can countries prevent maladaptation in the long run while also addressing short-term needs? What factors must policy takers consider at the planning stage? Dr. Portner and then Dr. Roberts.
Yeah, that's a good meme.
Yeah,
Dustin.
thank you for this important question.
You should be an eco-conscious consumer.
On the slide, as far
Never
as
mind what we're doing.
Building of coastal defenses is concerned. And it comes also to a point that I made earlier, that for any short-term decision and consideration,
remember, it's your fault.
Between strategies, the long-term implications need to be considered. For example, if you develop strategies that meet the short-term food requirements of the local population, but enhance ecosystem degradation and and also the soil and land degradation, you may meet the needs of the immediate adult and young population, but you erode the sustainability there, and you bring the food sources to an end for the next generations. Another example is the building of coastal defenses that I've just referred to. If you build hard seawalls, you are, with increasing sea level rise, taking space away for the natural ecosystems that may help you. The wide floodplains, the salt marshes, or mangrove forests that would contribute to coastal protection would have only a narrow
the mangroves
area.
It depends where you are, but there are natural things that you can do
continually. And then there will be a point with increasing sea level where the question is to what extent and how high can you actually build those sea walls. So there will be in that case abrupt adaptation limits, which then expose the local population to extreme events such as intensive flooding and so forth. So that's right. Shows the challenges of.
And it is incredibly expensive when you could be moving those resources into more sustainable things instead of trying to waste billions of dollars building seawalls that aren't guaranteed to work and could actually, in some cases, make things worse. You should be appropriating those resources into things that actually work, restoring the natural ecosystems, so on and so forth. All right, folks, we're almost done. So we're going to finish this tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thursday. So we'll end on that. Yeah, tomorrow is Thursday, so we'll end on that. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It really does help us out. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out here. You guys are what makes this channel go. Thank you so much for the back-to-back massive raids. Thank you, Dustin. You have a good one. Massive back-to-back raids from Doc Binwin, Sam and Benjamin P. Dixon, and all the new follows. I appreciate that. Thank you, Brian C84. Thank you so much for all the new follows. You guys are what makes this channel grow, as always. Oh, and also, if you guys have a second, just a second, head on over to the YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button. It takes 5 seconds. And join the Discord to keep up with the channel. We are here Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Join us for Saturday Catterdays at noon Eastern Time. Kitty cats guaranteed, as always. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. See ya. Hang tight, folks. All right, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.